That is about the Ganapati Chintana. How do we link this Ganesha with the Vishwambara Murti that is described by Varuna in Mundaka Upanishad? Okay, so please feel free to interact in this session. We got excellent presentations coming up. So before we get started, may I invite, in fact, Ramesh Acharji is going to start off this wonderful event with a Ganesh Vandana song. So over to you, Ramesh Acharji. Ganesh, you're muted, Ramesh ji.
Namaskar. Gajavadana bedume Gauri Tanaya Trijagavanditane Sujanara Puremane Gajavadana bedume Gauri Tanaya Trijagavanditane Sujanara Purevane Gajavadana beduve Pashankushadhara Parama Pavitra Pashankushadhara Parama Pavitra Mushika Vahana Muni Jana Prema Mushika Vahana Muni Jana Prema Gajavadana Beduve Gauri Tanaya Trijagavanditane Sujanara Purevane Gajavadana Beduve Modadi Ninnaya Padavatoro Sadhu Vanditane Adaradindali Sarasi Janapasri Purandara Vitalana Sarasi Janapasri Purandara Vitalana Niratane Yuvante Nidaya Madu Niratane Yuvante Nidaya Madu Gajavadana Beduve Gauri Tanaya Trijagavanditane Sujanara Purevane Gajavadana Beduve Gajavadana Beduve Gajavadana Beduve.
Beautiful, Rabeshti. Wonderful, very, very melodious. Thank you so much. So we get started with the Ganesh Vandana of today's further contemplation. So I was just going to carry on for a few more minutes. Bear with me on this one because we are doing all the Vishwambara Murti. The first thing that we need to understand is who is the Ganesha, who is the Ganapati, and there is a lot of research that's happened over several hundred years, and the concept of Ganapati has also evolved, or at least our understanding of who Ganapati is has actually evolved over eons. Okay, the very first introduction of this concept of Ganapati comes in Rig Veda. So some of you will be very, very familiar with this particular verse that I'm going to play through YouTube. I hope the internet works. So I'm going to play that. We will do it maybe for once. It's a 1 minute, and then we will have a chat about what this is. Okay.
गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् महागणपतये नमः। गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजम् ब्रह्मणाम् ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् महागणपतये नमः। गणानाम् त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविम् कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजम् ब्रह्मणाम् ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् महागणपतये नमः।
So I hope you were able to hear that mantra. So you will all be very familiar. In fact, all of us will be very familiar with this particular mantra, because any function, any puja that we do, and sometimes you have your pandit or your priest who comes home and who does it, and any function that happens usually starts with this mantra from Rig Veda. Okay, so let's think about this Ganapati that is being celebrated in Rig Veda, second mandala, to understand who this primary Ganapati is that the Vedic Rishi is celebrating. So this particular mantra comes from in the second mandala of the Rig Veda. So the second mandala of the Rig Veda is called Gritsmada Mandala. Gritsmada was one of the greatest rishis of the Vedic times. Gritsmada was his name. And in his family, there are a lot of great rishis who preserved all the Vedic mantras. You have Angirasa, Shaunaka, Bhargavaha, Shaunakaha, Bruhaspatihi, Brahmanaspatihi. These are all some really amazing rishis that actually they have actually preserved that portion of Vedas that Gritsmada preserved. Okay, that Gritsmada Rishi actually saw all these mantras. So in that Gritsmada Mandala, 23rd Sukta is the first mantra which this beautiful YouTube video has just recited that. Okay, now look at all the, I think we discussed this briefly 2 or 3 weeks ago. Even this particular sukta in the Gritsmada Mandala is also amazing because it's got 19 mantras. Okay, Eko na vimshati mukaha, 19. Okay, so these are all not there by chance. There are all the inner numerology and Sankhya and the philosophy of numbers that our rishis actually compress in the various suktas. So instantly, now we know that this sukta is celebrating some being over 19 mantras. So then we ask, why 19? 19 must have a significance. That is the first idea that I want to insert in your mind. So now let's look at very briefly what this mantra is actually talking about. Hava mahe. We invoke, pray, we praise thee, we pray to you. Thee, twa means you, thee. Okay, who are you? Gananam Ganapatim. You are Ganas. Ganas means group. Yeah. And of all the Gananam in plural, Gananam Ganapatim. You are the Lord of the groups, is what the Rishi is saying. Gananam Twa Ganapatihim Havamahe. So who is this Lord of the groups? So we have to go to the fundamentals here. Yeah, this is what makes Upanishad Chintana so amazing. We have to go to our core fundamentals. What did Shvetashvatara Upanishad tell us? That there are only 3 things in all of existence. You have Brahman, you have the Jivas, and you have the matter. Okay, so both the Jivas and the matters are actually Bhutas. Okay, so let's look at this. Jivas are called Bhutas. Why are Jivas called Bhutas? Anybody wants to take that question? Why are Jivas called Bhutas? Okay, okay, yeah, Nita Shushruth.
It's because they have bhuti, means they grow. So that is why they're called bhutas.
Yeah, wonderful, Neetaji. Yes, absolutely right. So Jivas are called Bhutas because they have the capacity to elevate themselves. They have the capacity to progress. Yeah, Bhuti. That which has a capacity to acquire Bhuti is called Bhutas. Okay. So in that sense, Jivas are also called Bhutas. And the material world is called Bhutas. And there is no confusion there because we do use Panchabhutas, right? We constantly say Panchabhutas. Okay? Panchabhutas are the inert matter. Okay, so they are also group of 5, and then you have Jivas, which is a group of infinite number of Jivas of infinite types. Okay, so both of them are Bhutaganas. Yeah, so who is the master of the group of souls and who is the master of the universe. And there can be no doubt in this audience that that supreme Ganapatim, who is the Lord of all the groups of in all of existence, is this Vishwambara Murti, who is Saptangaha Ekona Vimshati Mukaha, who is the Gananam Ganapati. So that is what Gritsmada Rishi and his descendants who preserved these suktas are talking about. They're saying, you are that person, Havamahe, we invoke and pray to thee, who is the Lord of all the groups of everything in existence. Kavim Kavinam, among the truth seekers, you are the highest, essentially meaning you are very knowledgeable, you are Sarvagnya. Upamashravastamam, look at this, Shravas means what? Reputation, right? Kirti, Shravas, we know all this word. And look at how the Rishi has seen this mantra. You have Shravas, you have Shravastara, and you have Shravastamam. Shravas-taram and Shravastamam, which means it's a superlative. It just says you are the highest and the most reputable being. Upa, and he said you are the highest adorable being. So when you look at these kind of words, Jeshta Rajam Brahmanam, you are the most brilliant among the knowers of the Vedas. Brahmana, we know Brahma means, there is one meaning of Brahma is called Vedas. Brahmanaspatihi, you are the Lord and the protector of the universe. Yeah. If you take this Brahma as Chaturmukha Brahma, he is his Pati, he is his Lord. Okay. Shrunvan, hear us, acceding to our request. Asida, be enshrined, sadhanam, in our hearts, utibihi, with thy protecting force. So that is essentially the meaning of this first word, the mantra of the 23rd Sukta of Rig Veda, which we constantly recite in various functions. And I hope that that gives you a bit of a bearing with regards to how do we understand when our priest recite this mantra. So Ganapati is Brahman equals Vishwa equals Tejasa equals Vishwambara Murti form equals infinite names of the Supreme. Okay, so this is what we call as a Paramamukya Vritti. Like every word and this word and the sound of the Vedas should be seen as ultimately celebrating the glory of the Supreme Lord. And that is what this verse does in a beautiful fashion. And that's why it's very popular in all our traditions of actually starting a program or puja with this particular mantra. So now to remind you of all this, so why is he the Gananam to Ganapati him? You are all now resident experts in this, and I don't need to give too much details, but I'm just going to quickly whizzle through this so that we understand where this Gananam Ganapatim, this Brahman comes in, and where does our Ganesha that we are celebrating next week comes in the grand scheme of the universe. So that is what our rishis want us to think about. Not mundane things of what is going to happen in our lives tomorrow. They want us to have a very grand vision of the universe and of existence. So we have Mula Prakriti, and the Mula Prakriti becomes Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and a portion of that becomes Mahat, a portion of that becomes Ahankara, that differentiates into three types, and one type of Ahankara becomes Panchatanmatras, and the Panchatanmatras then become Panchabhutas in stages. And the first thing that comes in Panchabhuta is Akasha, also called Bhuta Akasha. Okay. And we know from the Vedic philosophy, Abhimani Vyapadeshu Vesesha Anugatibhyam, as Vedavyasa has given us the rule, any non-sentient component of the universe has got a sentient component behind it, which is ultimately controlled by this Parabrahman. Okay. So Mula Prakriti is Lakshmi, then Sattva, Rajas, Tamas is Sri Bhu and Durga, Mahat is Chaturmukha, Ahankara is Rudra, Vaikarika, Tejasa, Tamasa, Ahankara is the three aspects of Shiva, who becomes Pancha Tanmatras, so therefore Panchamukhi. And then one of the Tanmatras, Gandha, Parvati is the Abhimani Devata of that, and Parvati and Shiva, they kind of mix together, and they and the Akasha, Bhuta Akasha comes in, and the Bhuta Akasha Abhimani is Ganesha. Okay, so the Gananam Ganapatim of the Rig Veda is the supreme Brahman, but at the same time in a Mukhya Vritti, not a Parama Mukhya Vritti, but in a Mukhya Vritti, Ganesha can also be taken, because Ganesha is also Ganapati of Ganas. So there are a lot of Bhuta Ganas of Rudra, and he is the head of all the Bhuta Ganas. Ganesha is a head of the Bhuta Ganas also. And also if you look at the material principles, he is the head. Because the first Akasha is the first Panchabhuta that comes, and then everything else evolves after that. So from all that angle, we need to understand, so there is one Gananam Ganapati, and then there is another Ganesha. And this is where his position is. The Ganapati that we are going to worship next week, this is where he is in the Vedic pantheon. Vishnu is number 1. Ganapati is number 18. Shiva, Rudra, Ganesha's dad, is number 5. Rudra's consort, Parvati, is number 7. Okay, Rudra and Parvati's son is Ganapati. And why? I've told you already. You have Tamasa Ahankara, Tanmatra, and the mix together, and then the next evolute is Bhuta Akasha, whose Abhimani is Ganesha or Ganapati. So his Vedic rank is 18. He shares this rank with few other popular chaps in our Vedic pantheon. Ashwini twins, Kubera, there are various Ganadevatas, Vasus, Vishwakshena. So these are all in the 18th rank of the Vedic pantheon. So I hope you will get that imprinted in your mind, because if you want to look for further evidence, I would recommend you go to Shakalya Brahmanam of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that talks about all the Vedic pantheon. Yeah. So our Ganesha is rank 18. Okay. So then how do you understand the Vishwambara Murti that has been discussed in Mandukya Upanishad and Katha Upanishad and link it with Ganesha? So this is how you do it. Ganesha is a soul. He is a Kshara like all of us. He is an extremely elevated Kshara. We know from that Gita verse, right? Dvavimo Purusho Loke Kshara Akshara Evacha Ksharaha Sarvani Bhutani. So Sarvani Bhutani means all souls are Ksharas, which also includes from Chaturmukha Brahma to you and me. We are all Ksharas. So if you look at that, what Krishna has said, Ganesha is also a Kshara. He has a body. What is his body? Bhuta Akasha. And he is an atomic soul, and his body is a Bhuta Akasha. And inside him is this Antaryaman who has 19 faces and 7 Angas, who is called as Vishwambara Murti. So 18th rank, Abhimani Devata Bhuta Akasha in Brahmanda. So then if he is such a big exalted soul, what is he doing in our Brahma Pindanda? Whenever you think about Brahmanda, our Vedic philosophies immediately go into your body and ask that question. So what is Ganesha's role inside me so that he can help me in my spiritual progress? So that is why we are praying, right? So in Pindanda, he provides number 1, space for us to exist. So Ganesha, he's a Bhuta Akasha. So Akasha, another meaning of Akasha is Avakasha. Avakasha means making space for things to exist. So our bodies and even this Jiva in this material world, I cannot exist without the space. Yeah. So that is one great contribution and the great grace that Ganesha has done on us, that he's actually provided the space under the supreme control, and he's doing a pretty good job at it at this point. Space means there is no obstruction for us to perform our activities. Okay, this means we have space to move around. So he is the remover of obstacles for our spiritual progress and promotes our direction towards the Shreyas. Okay, so it is with that spirit, our rishis are asking us to celebrate this Vedic pantheon that we have that helps us to move towards this supreme being. So just to summarize here, Brahman, Lakshmi, Shri Bhu, Durga, Mahat, Ahankara, Tanmatra, Akasha. So that is the sequence here. And on top of this site, on top of this chain is our Vishwambara Murti, who is there. So this guy is the Ganapati of the Vedas. And in the Puranas, this Ganapati gets celebrated quite a lot because he does a lot of interesting things in the Puranas. And at the same time, because we have this Pinda, we have this body, and we got to move towards this Vishwambara Murti, this Ganesha also plays an important role in that. So what is that role is what we are going to be discussing. And before I close this session, I just want to bring another important link. Look at the 21 entities. Yeah, the 21st entity is the Akasha. In this, you have the Manas, Jnana Indriyas, Karma Indriyas, Tanmatras, and then the Panchabhutas. In that Panchabhutas, the 21st number is Akasha, which is Ganesha. And that number 21 should prompt you with a few ideas that I'm sure will be discussed later. So hold on to that idea of 21. Ganesha is Parvati and Rudra's sun. In fact, Taittiriya Upanishad actually gives a very, very important verse on creation, which is worth memorizing. Tasmad va etasmad atmanaha akashaha sambhutaha. Akashad vayuhu, vayur agnihi, agner apaha, adabhyaha prithvi. Prithvyo aushadayaha, aushadayabhyo annam, annat purushaha. So it gives you that sequence how we as bodies, human beings, annat purusha, here purushas is us, how we have evolved, because all these abhimani devatas have worked with us. And here it clearly says, here this atmanaha means Rudra, akashaha sambhutaha means from Rudra comes akasha abhimani Ganesha. So that is the greatness of Akasha. So now the question is, how and why should he be worshipped? So that is still a question that plagues our mind. So we are I'm going to pass on the stage next to Padmajaji, who is going to take us through something that is new for all of us, but something that is very, very interesting that Padmajaji is going to inform us today. Padmajaji, over to you.
Thank you, Madhuji. Gurubhyo Namaha, Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Srimad Ananda Tirtha Bhagavad Padacharya Gurubhyo Namaha. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of information about Ganesha as described by Jagannath Dasaru in Harikatamrita Sara, the book written by Jagannath Dasaru. Harikatamrita Sara means the essence of the nectar of the divine glories of Supreme Sri Hari. Harikatamrita Sara is one of the magnum opus work of Sri Jagannath Dasaru. In this immortal work, Jagannath, he's an Aprokshit Gnani, and in this immortal work, Jagannath Dasaru has revealed the secrets of philosophy, the secrets of the philosophy of realism, establishing the reality of universe is created the Supreme Brahman, who is the abode of infinite auspicious attributes, devoid of all defects, and infinite souls are always dependent on him. Jagannath Dasaru has picked and narrated the gist of Brahma Sutras, Veda Upanishads, and Itihasa Puranas in Harikatamrita Sara, like picking the invaluable pearls from the ocean. He had great knowledge in Sanskrit, Tattva Shastra, and with his inner experience, that is with his own Anubhava, he has written this Kriti. This is one and the only Kannada work that has Vyakhyana, that is exposition in Sanskrit, which shows the importance and depth of this work. In Harikatamrita Sara, there are 32 chapters. Jagannath Dasaru has chosen this number to describe the gist of Sri Hari's story, because Sri Hari is the epitome of beauty and is measured with 32 salakshanas. And Sri Mukhya Prana also has these 32 salakshanas. Vigneshwara Stotra Sandhi, which we will be talking about, is the 28th chapter in Harikatamrita Sara, and it has 21 stanzas. Just now what Madhuji said, 21 is the place, Bhutakasha is the 21st place for which Ganesha is the Adhipati of Bhutakasha. Probably that's why Jagannath Dasaru has written 21 stanzas about describing the qualities of Ganesha. In this chapter, Jagannath Dasaru discusses in detail about Ganesha, his status in Vedic pantheon, and his greatness. Vignesha is Vignakarta to Durjanas, and for Sajjanas, he removes Vigna. So Vigneshwara Sandhi is read every day to remove all obstacles or Vignas. It's one of our daily prayers. Before reciting any Sandhi in Harikatamrita Sara, we have to recite this Mangala Charane in the beginning as well as at the end of every Sandhi. It goes like this. Harikatamrita Sara Gurugala Karunadinda Apanitu Peluve Parama Bhagavad Bhaktar Idanadaradi Keduvadu. This means Jagannath Dasaru says that he will narrate to the best of his ability the essence of the nectar of the glories of Sri Hari with the grace of the entire Guru Parampara, and the pure and the ultimate devotees of Sri Hari may listen to it with devotion and dedication. Now I will take, there are 21 verses in this 28th chapter, Vigneshwara Stotra Sandhi, written by Jagannath Dasuru. I will take the first verse, I'll recite it and discuss its meaning. So the first verse goes like this. Shri Shanangari Saroja Brunga Mahesha Sambhava Manmanadolu Prakashisu Anudina Prarthisive Prema Adishayadinda Nisalahu Sajjanara Vedavyasa Karuna Patra Mahata Akashapati Karanadu Kaipidi Demman Uddarisu. The meaning for this stanza or this shloka is the Jagannath Dasaru prays to Ganapati saying, "O Ganapati, you sit at the lotus feet of Sakshat Lakshmipati Paramatma like a bee which sits on the lotus feet to suck honey. You are the son of Mahesha." But Mahesha actually is the son of Parvati, but Mahesha recreates Ganesha. We all know that story where he got when Parvati goes for bath, he guards, and the whole lot of stories most of you will be aware of. I submit my prayers to you always. You be present in my mind. You have the anugraha of Sri Vedavyasa, Paramatma incarnate, because you wrote Mahabharata as dictated by Sri Vedavyasa very fast, for which Sri Vedavyasa told you that you must think, understand, and then write. So Vedavyasa thus chose Ganapati as his writer, and Ganapati wrote the whole Mahabharata with full understanding, and thus he earned Sri Vedavyasa's anugraha. Jagannath Dasaru describes Ganapati as Mahata Akashapati because among the 24 tattvas, there are Panchamahabhuta tattvas. Akasha tattva is one Panchamahabhuta tattva, and Ganapati is the Adipati of Akasha tattva. Jagannath Dasaru also says that Ganesha is the most merciful God. So please, and he requests him to please hold our hands, save us from samsara, and bless us with the release from it. These are the few qualities of Ganesha as described in the first shloka. As you know, there are 21 shlokas, but we have picked up only 3 shlokas. I have recited one. Now over to Kamalaji for the verses 5 and 20, where she will be describing more qualities of Ganesha in Harikatamrita Sara. Thank you. Over to Kamalaji.
Gurubhyo Namaha, Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Srimadananda Tirtha Bhagavat Padacharya Gurubhyo Namaha. Lord Vinayaka has Visesha Anugraha of Lord Vishwambaramurti, that is Sriman Narayana. Why elephant face to Lord Ganesha? Lord Narayana in his Vishwarupa with 19 rupas or 19 foreheads, and the 10th face that of an elephant, which was often and always meditated upon by Lord Vinayaka. Therefore, Lord Narayana was pleased and blessed him with the face of an elephant, being the 10th face of Vishwarupi Paramatma. Lord Narayana also blessed Vinayaka and said that since you did Upasana on my 10th face, you will be getting the similar forehead of mine. It goes to say in the Shastras as Tam yata yata upasate tam tataiva bhavati. That is, what you aspire and do upasana or penance, the Lord bestows the same. Therefore, we should try to always think good, say good, and do good. Now, I'll be dealing into the sloka. The great Jagannath Dasaru, in his magnificent work Harikatamrita Sara, has done 32 sandhis or chapters relating to soul and God and its activities, benefits, and mahimas. In the above said work, the 28th chapter is Ganapati Sandhi about Lord Ganesha. The 5th sloka goes like this. Charu Deshna Yavvanenisi Avatara Madida Rukmaniyali Gauriya Rachana Varadi Utatara the Rakshasara Sauri Agnati Samharisi Bhupara Vigulita Karuni Tatpadara Vindake Namipe Karunipadu Yamage Mangala Sanmatiya. The meaning of this sloka: you take avatara or you were born as Charu Deshna to Rukmani Devi and Lord Krishna. By the boon given by Parvati Pati, that is Lord Rudra, the Rakshasas were very haughty with great pride and strength. Therefore, by the Anugraha and orders of Sri Krishna, since Ganapati, who is far inferior to Rudra, cannot do this act by himself, so as per the command of Sri Krishna, Sauri Agnyati, which means Lord Krishna gave strength and power to Vigneshwara to the act of killing Asuras and brought down the weight of Mother Earth. So you are an ocean of mercy, and prayer is made to divert our buddhi towards Lord Narayana and to obtain his Kripa Kataksha. Sloka 20. ಕಡುಕರಣಿ ನಿಂದೆರಿದು ಹೆರರೊಡಲೆ ನಮಿಸುವೆ ನಿನ್ನಡಿಗೆ ಬೆಂಬಿಡದ ಪಾಲಿಸು ಪರಮ ಕರುಣಾ ಸಿಂಧು ಎಂದೆಂದು ನಡು ನಡುವೆ ಬರುತ್ತಿಪ್ಪ ವಿಘ್ನವ ತಡೆದು ಭಗವನ್ನಾಮ ಕೀರ್ತನೆ ನುಡಿ ನುಡಿಸು ಏನಿಂದು ಪ್ರತಿ ದಿವಸ ಮರೆಯದಲ್ಲಿ. The meaning goes like this: you are Lambodara, that is Lord Ganesha, because he is having big body. You have the greatest mercy and sympathy, and I shall submit my pranams at your lotus feet. You are the ocean of mercy and kindness, always without any gap or latches. So please be with me and protect me and remove all the hurdles and hindrances that crop up in the middle. The hurdles which are of three kinds: Adhyatmika, connected to mind, fear and sadness; Adidaivika, dues of gods, the hurdles are brought, like famine, absence of rain and unbearable heat; Adibhaudika, connected to 5 elements in body, all these hurdles removed while performing satkarmas. Every day remaining in me by reciting the names of Lord Narayana, and see that such Nama Sankirtana is also obeyed by me. Vishwaramurti Swamine Namaha. Om Sri Krishnarpanamastu. Harikatamrita Sara Gurugala Karunadinda Apanitu Peluve Parama Bhagavat Bhaktaridana Daradi Keluvadu. Thank you very much.
Very beautiful, Kamalaji. Thank you so much. That was a whistle stop tour of Harikatamrita Sara. So for those of us who are now inspired, we can go and do our own research on this. So we move on. So I'm very pleased to invite Neetaji to take us through the Ganesh of the Puranas. Padmaja and Kamalaji have given us some introduction of all the great things that Ganesha has done, will do, and will also be doing in the future for us, and what is his greatness celebrated in the Puranas. Neetaji is going to give us a review of that. Over to you, Neetaji.
Hari Om, Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Thank you for this opportunity. I think all these years we've been doing Ganesh Puja, but in the last 2 days I've learned a lot more. So I think this has made me learn and research a bit more. So just a brief thing about Puranas. Puranas are in 18 in number, and we all know the importance of 18, which Madhuji has always been telling us. So 18 Puranas and 18 Upa Puranas. So can anyone tell me which is the key Purana, the main Purana of these 18?
Bhagavata Purana.
Correct.
No, Garuda
yes, thank
Purana.
you. Bhagavata Purana, that's right, Padmajaji. Bhagavata Purana is one of the key ones that, I mean, of course, all are important, but the one we study a lot is Bhagavata Purana. So there are different stories. When you go through all the stories, there are many stories about Ganeshji. And the two Puranas that tell us more about Ganesh Puja is Ganesha Purana and Mudgala Purana. And the other Puranas are Brahmanda Purana, Matsya Purana, Brahma Vaivarta Purana, and Skanda Purana. They all discuss something or the other about Ganeshji. So one thing that comes to mind is in Ganesh Chaturthi, when we celebrate Ganesh Chaturthi, is memories of in childhood when we used to go and visit all the very well decorated mandaps or pandals with Ganeshji in there. Walk around and see people carrying little murtis of Ganeshji to their homes. And this is celebrated every year on Bhadrapada Shukla Chaturthi day. And so we all make modaks, 21 modaks. Now you all know why 21 modaks. All these days we never questioned why 21 modaks. We thought, okay, maybe everyone needs sweet both. So 21 modaks. No, it's because there's a reason which Padmajaji has mentioned and Madhusudanji has mentioned why 21. Because it's the 21th number that we talked about Bhutakasha in the creation part. So let's move on to the next slide. So again, I think Kamalaji mentioned about the elephant head, and we've talked about the Veda part of the elephant head, and we know very popular story about Shiva chopping the head off of the Ganesha, which Parvati had created, and and then getting an elephant head and putting it on Ganeshi. But this is a different story, and I found it interesting because I had never heard this before. Maybe others, you all have heard it before, but this is from Brahma Vaivarta Purana. I'll just briefly tell you the story because I found it interesting and more relevant and appropriate, really. So first, what happens is Sage Durvasa was traveling from Vaikunta to Kailash, and he saw Indra on his way. And Indra bowed to him, and Durvasa was very pleased and gave him a Parijat flower. This Parijat flower had great powers and would make someone very powerful, and Lakshmi would never leave him, so make him very rich, on whosever head this Parijat flower was put on. But Indra was too busy enjoying, and so he put this flower on one of his elephant's head. So you can imagine what would happen. The elephant became very powerful. It then defeated all the other elephants that Indra had and went away, left Indra. So we'll keep that story aside and then go to Ganesha's story, where Parvati has created or given birth to Ganesha. And all devatas come to visit and see Lord Ganesha. So Shani Devata is also invited. So Shani Devata comes in and he's scared to look at the baby because he knows something is going to go wrong. But Parvati ji says, no, it's okay, you can see. So when Shani Devata sees baby Ganesha, his head is chopped off, and then Parvati is very distraught. So what happens is Vishnu comes on his Garuda, goes to this elephant the Indra's elephant, if you remember that story, which I just mentioned. So that elephant, and cuts off the head of that elephant, which has got all the powers, and puts it on Lord on Ganesha. So this is another story of how Ganesha got elephant head. Okay. Next one. So Vahana, we all again know popular Vahana is mouse, but in Puranas, there are other Vahanas mentioned like peacock, lion, horse, serpent. So all these Vahanas are mentioned. I guess, again, we never questioned why mouse. Okay, it's there. So all these years, so it was interesting to read and understand a bit more. So there is a story in Matsya Purana which explains why Ganesha has mouse as his Vahana. So there was a celestial musician called Kruvancha, and he accidentally stepped on Muni Vamadeva. Muni Vamadeva then got angry and cursed him to become a mouse. After he had cursed, he was a bit upset and then wanted to say that he will be worshipped later on by all the devas. But but this was still yet to happen. So mouse, in the meantime, was destroying everything that came in its way. Once Lord Ganesha was visiting Maharshi Parashara in his ashram. And this mouse, which was Kruvancha, before the curse, was also came in there and was destroying the ashram. So Lord Ganesha then used his pasha to control the Kruvancha. So that's how then the mouse became his Vahana from then on. So that is the story about why mouse is Ganesha's Vahana. Next slide, please. Okay, I don't know whether you'd be able to see this. Maybe we can enlarge it. Is it possible, Mataji, to make it bigger? But if you can, but if not, it's fine. Yeah, thank you. So I hope everyone can see this. So one thing we have to remember when we are praying is to think of all these things. Think of what the metaphors, what it represents. So I could go through each one of them, but if you can see a large head of elephant, or it means that you have to think big, or it represents intelligence. And large ears, we have to listen more. Small mouth, talk less. So if we talk less, we can think more and listen more. Again, what we say, mananam, we need that for spiritual upliftment. And the other key thing I wanted to mention was of the sweets. So when we learn all this, it's the sweetness or the bliss that we get from the spiritual knowledge. Mouse, we have talked about, mouse also represents desires. So we need to keep our desires or senses under control. And some websites have mentioned ego as well. So it represents ego. So we have to keep that under control. Okay, so I think, and there are many stories about why Ganesha has one tusk or broken tusk. The two different. One is in Brahmanda Purana, where Parashurama there's a fight with Parashurama, and he then cuts off the one of the tusks. So that is one of the stories. Just of interest to mention is that in Who Wants to Be Like the Millionaire, in the Indian version KBC, one question was asked as to who cuts off one of the tusks, and in Brahmanda Purana. So just to give you some more information on that. So these are all the representations. Again, rope, yeah. So I would end there, and you can look it up, and some different websites give different things, but you must remember, when you see a murti of Ganeshi, you try and think of all these things and try to practice them as well in our life. So I would end my presentation with that. Happy to take any questions later on.
So Neetaji, thank you very much. And again, very interesting twists, that a few new facts that we have learned about Ganesh today. And Ganesha as a Devata cannot be underestimated. He is everywhere. He's all pervasive. He comes in all the Puranas and he does lots of interesting things. But behind all this is some philosophical truths that the Puranas are trying to tell us. And that's what we need to grasp. And you very beautifully mentioned that. So thank you, Neetaji, for that. But one key message that I just wanted to impress is, look, this chap is 18th in rank, and we need this person who is 18th in Vedic pantheon to reach that number 18. If you want to reach that number 18, who is that Supreme Vishnu himself, we have to first get this guys, we have to get into his good favor, and we need to sort of worship him and imbibe all his attributes, and then make that spiritual journey to reach 18. So I thought 18 to 18 is a good way of remembering when we do Ganesh Chaturthi next week. So on that note, so I think we've all had a lot of new information, a lot of new ideas and concepts that have been fed in during the last 30-40 minutes. So to crystallize everything, because Neetaji was thinking about, think big and do mananas and concentrate, have small eyes and stuff. So I presume we've all done this over the last 30-40 minutes, because we've got an interesting set of questions in the form of a quiz that Ajit Menon has very kindly, coordinated this for us. So Ajit, over to you. So what I'll do is I'll play your question and I'll play music on my system. Okay. And then we will coordinate the Q&A. Yeah, we'll do that way. So over to you, Ajit.
Thanks. Yeah. Sorry, can I? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. So as we've just heard that one of the ways to try and improve our knowledge is to try and reflect on things and do nitidhyasana. So I think we just have to go through if you've been really careful and attentive during the session today, you'll probably get the answers to most of the questions. So with that, Madhu, for the first question, please. Thanks. So as per the Hindu lunar calendar, when is Ganesh Chaturthi celebrated? So if people could put the answer into the chat box, that would be great. Although the music's quite faint, so I presume you are. Thanks. So yeah, I think everybody's got the answer correct, which is the next slide, please.
So yeah, lots of questions, lots of answers. Rajula and Chinmayi, Bhadrapada Masa, and then Deval said 4th.
Yeah,
Bhadrapati Shukla.
The 4th day, she's, I presume.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of correct answers. Bhadrapada Masa Shukla. Yeah. Everybody's got the answer.
So it is the 4th day after the new moon in the Hindu month of Bhadrapada, which falls between August and September in the Gregorian calendar, and it's the Shukla Paksha, as the waning moon starts there. Okay, the next question, Madhu. Thank you. So a bit of a maths question in here, but it's a slightly twisted equation. So how is 5 plus 7 equal to 18? So, yeah, fantastic. So I think lots of people have got the answers. So yeah, Madhu, the next slide, please.
Yeah.
It's probably too small to see on this one. So this is one of our previous lectures that we've had, and Madhu's talked about it in more details today. So if you just go to the next slide, Madhu, that will give us a better view on that one. So yeah, so Rudra is rank 5, and Parvati is rank 7, and Ganesha is rank 18. So yeah, so most people have got the answer to that one. Well done. The next question, Madhu. Okay, so this is a famous Ganesha prayer, and there are some pictures in there. So if you could put the pictures together and try and come up with which prayer are we talking about here? Okay, so yep, a lot of people have got the answer. If you go to the next slide, Madhu. So it is the Mushiga Vahana Modaka Hasta Chamara Karna Vilambita Sutra Vamana Rupa Maheshwara Putra Vigna Vinayaga Pada Namaste. So it talks about the different attributes to Lord Ganesha, and as Neetaji was telling us, so you have his vehicle is the Mushiga, or the rat, or the mouse, and then Modaka is the sweet that he likes, and Chamarakarna is the fan-like ears that he has, and he has the holy sacred thread which he wears, the Vilambita Sutra, and his small stature, the Vamana Rupa, and he is the son of Rudra, hence Maheshwara Putra. So thank you. So the next slide, please. So as Neetaji had put up a slide on Ganesha, and she had said that we all need to have good small eyes to look into it in details. I presume you all have gone through all the things there on that slide. So if you could tell us what were the things, objects present in Ganesha's hands. Thanks for the next slide. Yes, a lot of people have got the right answers. So we have Pratibhaji, Rajula, Harish. So yeah, it is the axe in one hand, which is to try and cut off the attachments that we have. The lotus as a symbol of enlightenment. The rope to try and pull or attract one towards God. The sweets or the modak is the sort of the benefits that we get out from our sadhanas in daily life. And the one of them is the free hand, which is the Abhaya Hasta, or protection and blessing that Lord Ganesha gives us. So well done to all who got the answers. Next one, Madhu. So this is a slightly more, because we've got an international audience here, so we've got a bit about Ganesha in different countries. So you have 4 Ganeshas on the top, and you have 4 countries at the bottom. So if you could match the following in this one, please. So which Ganesha is worshipped in which country?
A difficult one.
It is a difficult one. Sorry, this was out of syllabus. Sorry.
Can I answer what Mr. Pai says? He says one is Japan, no? One is Japan, and 3 is Thailand, and Heramba is Nepal, and 4 is Tibet.
Okay.
That's Mr. Pai says.
Well, it's like, yeah, I mean, Neeta's got the right answer there. So if you just go to the next slide, so he was quite close there, Auntie. So yeah, so the answer is the one is the Tibet. Heramba is Nepal, and I think Heramba, usually Ganapati is the color associated with Ganapati is red, but for Heramba, I think it is white in color. Then in Thailand, they worship him as Ganesha, and it was interesting to note that in Japan, he's worshipped as Kangiten. Just a supplementary question. Do people know which country in the world has Ganesha on their currency note?
Indonesia, right?
Yeah, it is Indonesia. So it's a Muslim country which has Ganesha on their currency note, so which is quite interesting. So yeah, next one, Madhu. Okay, so this is back to India. So we have the Ashtavinayaka temples in Maharashtra. Do people recognize this temple? This is the second usually of the Ashtavinayaka. When they do the yatra, they usually go to this temple the second. And here the icon of Ganesha has his trunk curved to the right. The only one in the Ashtavinayaka which it has. Thank you. So yeah, sorry, it was again a slightly tough one. So yeah, Harish got the answer. Madhu, next slide. So it is the Siddhivinayaka temple, and I understand from the research that when Ganapati has his trunk curled to the right, he's called the Siddhivinayaka form of it. And so I'm not sure how clearly it projects on the screen. So these are the 8 different temples that you have, and you start with the one in in the Mayurganj area. So the first one is that one, then you go into the Siddhivinayaka, and then you complete all the 8, and then you have to go back to the first one to complete your circumambulation of all the temples there, and usually people complete it over 2 days period. So they do 4 temples on one day, and then they do the 4 on the other. And I think all these 8 temples are in the vicinity of Pune, so it's very easy for people from Pune to go around these temples. So next slide, Madhu, please. Okay, on the same theme about Ashtavinayaka, could people name the different forms of Lord Ganesha? Anybody want to say, or if they, yeah. Okay, Madhu, next slide, yeah. So Lambodra Vinayaka. So
lots of answers, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Pratibha Ji Siddhi Vinayaka, Deval Lambodara and Vinayaka, and then Harish Siddhi Vinayaka, Deval Ganapati Pula, Pule. And Pune, is it? I don't know.
No, that's the previous one. Sorry, it's the previous one. So I think the one on what's
okay.
Lambodra and Siddhi Vinayaka.
Yeah.
So here
Deval
are the
has answered Lambodara Vinayaka, Siddhi Vinayaka, Gajanana.
Yeah,
So,
Ekadantam, and so you have the 8 different forms or the avatars of Ganapati, and as Neetaji was saying in her presentation, that out of these 8, 5 of them have the mouse as the Vahana, and the 3 of them have different. They have one of them on the lion, one of them is on a peacock. So there are different.
You didn't write Vinayaka. Where is Vinayaka?
No.
Gauri Putram Vinayakam. There is a song.
These were the 8 that I have got on my research, Auntie.
Hi, just a quick thing. I think these are the 8 ones from the Mugdala Purana. So Ganesh Purana has 4 incarnations, and these are the 8
this is
from
the
Mugdala
Purana.
Purana.
Yeah, it is from the Mugdala Purana.
So also in that Ganesha Purana, so Neetaji, if you can recall, we studied this morning. Ganesha Purana is one of the Upa Puranas, and it is a Satvika Purana component of the Upa Puranas, right?
Yes, yeah. Puranas are classified into Satvika, Rajasika, and Tamasic Puranas. So yeah, Ganesh Purana is one of the Satvik Puranas.
And it is one of the Upa Puranas, not the main Puranas.
Upa Puranas, yes. Yeah. As I first mentioned, 18 main Puranas and 18 Upa Puranas. It's one of those 18 Upa Puranas.
And what about Mudgala Purana? Where does that come in? Do we know?
Mudgala is also Upa Purana only.
Purana on that one.
It's not the one of the main ones.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And I thought that came along the Brahmanda Purana, and so that had the Ganesha Purana and the Mudgala Purana.
Yeah.
Okay. Next.
Brahmanda Purana is the main one.
Main one, right?
So a little bit of history for all of us to say. Who is the freedom fighter shown in this picture, and what is his relevance with Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations? Yeah, so a lot of people have got the answers there. So yes, it is Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and he started the Ganesh Puja for the masses in Maharashtra. Do people know which year did he start the? So yeah, there you go. It's in 1893. Up till that point, it was Ganesh Puja was something that was done within the house. So it was individuals doing the prayers, but he found this was one way to try and get people together, get them unified for one particular cause. Since 1893, the mass celebrations of Ganesh Chaturthi has been happening. So Bal Gangadhar Tilak was associated with that. So well done, you all, those who got the questions.
So that's amazing piece of information, Ajit. I had no clue that this was why in Maharashtra you have all this. They have these pandals outside, and it's like multi-crore business now, isn't it? They do it in such grand scales, but actually it had a humble beginning with a very noble cause. Is just unbelievable and amazing. So thanks for that information. Absolutely no clue. Yeah, that's wonderful.
It is, I think, one of the Siddhi Vinayaka temples in Bombay and the Lal Bagh pandal that they have. These are the two multi-crore pandals that they have, where they have, I think, the insurance of these pandals run into huge amounts of money because of the diamonds that they have on the icon there.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah.
Okay, and I think that's all that we got on there, isn't it? Yep. Thank you. So thank you all for your active participation in this, and it was great to get so many answers come through. Thank you.
So I think Ajit, I'll have to. I think can we all give Ajit a big round of applause, please? Because this is really it's a novel quiz, and I don't think anybody has ever done a Ganesha quiz anywhere in the forum that I've seen. So it's unique, great achievement, Ajit. It's amazing. Some of the questions were really tough ones, but so much new information has been captured here. So big round of applause to Ajit, please.
Thank you, Madhu. Thank you.
So excellent. So on that note, I think we are finishing today's session. And I was going to say, just before we close today's session, any questions, anything? So there are any pressing questions from anybody, or?
I have one question. Anyone, like, why do during Krishna Chaturthi we are not supposed to see the moon? No, it's is it in Purana somewhere that they say when you see the moon you will be called a thief? So that on Chauthi day you don't see the moon. So is there any story or truth behind this? Some link between Ganesha and the moon?
Yes, who is going to take that? So resident expert, Neeta, Padmaja, anybody wants to do it?
Mr. Pai wants
I think, if I remember right, Madhu, I think after the Ganesh Puja, I'm sorry, his birthday, he had so much, his tummy became so big, and he was walking in the field, and I think moon laughed looking at his tummy. So he cursed, I think, the moon. You know,
He will not be seen on Bhadrapada.
Oh yeah, so that's what I think, if I remember right. Something to do with this big tummy.
And his tummy was tied with the snake.
Maybe.
It broke open. They say it broke open. I don't know.
Interesting, interesting. Is there any other flavor to it, or is anybody has any other flavors? Because Ganesha's Purana stories usually is multi-dimensional. So is there any other thingy to it, or?
There is, yeah, I recently listened after you mentioned to Professor P.R. Mukund, who was one of our speakers in the past in the Knowledge Academy. He has done a very nice lecture on this, actually. Pratibhaji, I will send you the link as well. And he gives metaphors for all these laughing on the moon and Ganesha. So please listen to that. The other thing he mentions, you all know about the story as how to get rid of this shapa, is that Satyajit Raja story or Shamantaka Mani story. So I think you might all have heard about that. So that is, but one thing is that not to fear. It's not something that one should be scared of if you look at a moon. It's just there are lots of metaphors attached to these stories.
So Neetaji, in the UK, we are all very comfortable because we never see the moon because it's always cloudy here. So we are safe.
I was going to say that too. Yeah, very cloudy.
That day I see moon every day, every time, because you see Ganesha and come, the moon is in the front, you know. Oh, then you remember, you know, you are not supposed to see the moon.
Excellent. On that wonderful note, shall we close today's session? Harish is
Sorry,
with
Madhu,
us today.
there's a question from Deval. She wanted to know, why do all the Devatas have a vehicle as an animal?
Yeah. Very good question, Devalji. And again, it's all metaphors, as Neetaji mentioned. So you just need to look at the quality of that Vahana and what it does. and it's all very metaphorical. So you and I, we will agree that our friend Ganesha is not going to be running around on a mouse in the Brahmanda. Yeah. So in Pindanda, you just see him like that, so that you get to understand for your own progress in samsara, what are all the things that you need to control and stuff like that. So similarly, if you go to any other devata and see the underlying vehicle that they are on, you will be able to capture some attributes of that animal, and that would reflect either for our spiritual progress or a quality of the deity. So you can do your research, and that's how you would approach all these vahanas. Anybody else has a view on this, or other impressions?
After you said Madhu, I remember that I think Ganesha is a deity for intellect, and intellect has to grow up very, very, very slowly. Otherwise, we can get confused. The intellect I'm talking is spiritual intellect.
Yeah.
So I think that's why the mouse, which Ganesha goes slowly, evolves, because we have to evolve slowly towards Ganesha to intellect to get into spirituality.
Yeah, thank you, Shilaji. So yeah, so they will answer to your question is that it's all metaphorical. So we just need to look at the underlying things of it. But the sad fact is, people take it literally, and then that becomes a laughing stock. And particularly around the youngsters that I've heard so often, that they just see all this as in inverted commas stupidity, or is a bit too immature and silly. But actually, it's our job to actually explain to them what is the inner philosophy and the metaphors that our ancients have used, so that we can remember these things much more easily. So I think that's what we should all be doing actively. So on that note, Harish, do you want to recite Om and close today's session, please?
Sure.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I think all of us will agree that this was one of the most enjoyable sessions that we had in this forum. So look forward to seeing you all again next Sunday, same time, same place, for lecture 23, where we make our onwards journey with serious contemplation of Katha Upanishad. Okay. On that note, Krishna Pranamastu, and see you all next week. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.